Hello and welcome to Meldon Law and Friends, a service of Meldon Law, a statewide law firm with its primary office in Gainesville, Florida, and also with offices in South Florida, covering the entire Tri-County area, Miami-Dade through Broward through Palm Beach County, and where we have been for 43 years in Marion County at 1326 South Pine Avenue. And my name is Chris Qualman. You're probably wondering where Jeffrey and Carrie Meldon are. Well, this is Rosh Hashanah. It is the Jewish New Year, so Carrie and Jeffrey are celebrating that. And I'm very happy to be back on the program once again for episode 46. I'm joined by my good friend and colleague, Ian Pickens, one of our attorneys from the firm, and a very successful one at that. Welcome to the show, Ian.
Thank you, Chris. Glad to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you. And hey, we just finished a long weekend. It was a Labor Day weekend, so tell me how you celebrated it.
I watched a lot of football.
Yeah, I figured you did.
A whole lot of football. That was my Saturday. I cooked some wings, cooked some ribs, and watched a lot of football. And then Sunday, my best friend from college actually came down with his family there at Clearwater Beach for vacation. So Sunday, we took our kids down there and met with his family and just had a great time.
Well, that sounds terrific. I would have expected beer, wings, and football would be part of the Pickens household.
It was. At 8 a.m., my daughter comes running into the room in her gator dress, said, "Daddy, it's game day." So we're starting her young. She's only 2.
Wow. I'll tell you what, this guy's raising his kids just right. We knew that. Anyhow, well, I got to share. I had a great weekend as well. I went to the Gator game. Of course, the Gators won. We expected they would. Still, it was always a lot of fun to see a full stadium. I think they announced the capacity or the attendance was a little bit over 86,000. So it was certainly a very successful attendance at the game. And I went down the Santa Fe River yesterday for the first time ever. All the years I was a student at the University of Florida, I went down the Itchituckney, or the Itchy, as I heard the locals call it.
Right.
And I went down the Santa Fe River, and I want to give a huge shout out to the great people at Rum 138 Outpost. We had my good friend Sana Sere on the program just a few weeks ago. She's the general manager of Rum 138. But this was my first time I actually went out there too. I was there with one of my kids, Benny. We went out there, we rented a couple of kayaks, went down the river, and it is just, if you haven't done that yet, have you done that?
No, I haven't done that. I've been down the Itchituckney.
You've been down the Itchy.
And Rainbow. Yeah, in the Rainbow River down in Denellen.
Yeah.
So we enjoy doing that stuff. We'll have to check that out.
You got to check out the Santa Fe River. Now, the water's kind of high because they've had a lot of rain, this year. So the water is a little brackish. It's brown, but still you go by all these springs. You go by Ginny Springs and all sorts of other places. So it's a great trip. It's a great afternoon. It takes about 3.5 hours to go down the entire length. It's about a 9-mile trip. But the great thing is you rent your kayak. They drive you to the place where you put in the water. It's all taken care of for you. Then they pick you up when it's over. So it's a great family-oriented event, and I'd say take your 2 girls and spend a great day and check out Rum 138 for all your needs on that.
Sounds good.
So I wanted to have Ian on the show because I don't think we've had you on the podcast yet, and We've had you on the radio show a number of times. You've been with the firm, about 4 years now?
Yeah, time's flying. But yes, sir. Yeah, I think it's 2017.
Yeah, it truly has been quite a run. I say this not just because you're my friend and colleague. I am just in awe of the success you have as a criminal defense attorney. I know that you have a very unique background, and so I want to just kind of toss to you to explain for those who may not be familiar with Ian and his background that you worked on the prosecutorial side. Now you're, of course, in the defense side. So talk a little bit about your background.
So, I started at the state attorney's office in Ocala. I had a wonderful time there. Was there for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Started in misdemeanor, worked my way up to felony cases. Did that for 2 years, and then lo and behold, I run into Carrie. And,
That's right.
It turns out that my Bible study teacher is Dr. Walker, who we use a lot for
Jonathan Walker from Ocala Spine and Injury, sure.
Yeah, so he's a great guy, and he gets to talking to Carrie at an event, and then next thing you know, I'm meeting with both Jeffrey and Carrie. They offer me the job, and it's been a wonderful 4 years. I couldn't ask to be with a better firm, and I had great training from Miss Abby and Carrie as far as how to properly defend a DUI case, and like you said, we've been really fortunate to have some success.
Well, and you're very, very modest, I have to say, because I'm going to throw you out a shout out that you didn't even know was coming. We had a judge come by our tailgate this past weekend, He's he was getting signatures because he's up for re-election. He doesn't expect to be opposed, and he made a point of telling Jeffrey and I just the outstanding job you do every time you're in his courtroom, and he just went out of his way to tell us that. And we get that free feedback from everybody, Ian. And I know you just recently had a big not guilty verdict. You've had a lot of them. You had one in Duval County, you've had a bunch in Alachua, you've had them down in Marion. So let's talk about DUI defense, okay? DUI is a very unique crime, to say the least, because it cuts across all socioeconomic boundaries, rich, poor, black, white, everything in between. There's no one prototype for a DUI defendant. So talk about that, your philosophy about defending those accused of DUI.
So, really, I always break it down into two parts, because you have the administrative side of things, which a lot of people don't fully understand, and some lawyers don't fully understand
Sure.
it. And so we have that side, we have the criminal side, and there's overlap, but usually they're completely separate as far as rulings and how they can affect you. And so really, we break it down into that. And then also, like you said, dealing with certain professionals, we'd have to deal with license issues, dealing with the Board of Medicine, the Florida Bar,
Sure.
things like that, as far as, making sure that the result we get doesn't affect their livelihood or their professional careers. So there's a lot of different things and moving parts that we have to focus on.
I imagine the fact that you worked in the prosecutorial side, you were an assistant state attorney in Marion County, that certainly gave you a perspective on working things from the defense side. There are things obviously you saw when you were a prosecutor, and maybe explain how that has helped you in the transition to private practice.
It's helped a lot, because now I don't have to prove anything, right?
That's right.
So
Yeah, the burden of
we
proof
don't
is
have the burden
on the other side.
right? So I look at a case of when I'm looking at it, and sometimes I have to explain this to my client with kid gloves on, because I don't want them to think I'm a prosecutor, but I do put on that cap and say, all right, what are the strengths of a prosecutor's case with my
Sure.
client? How would I go about trying to convict my client? And that allows me to see the holes in that potential case to try to capitalize on. I stay in Florida Law Weekly as far as other counties and how other attorneys have filed motions to suppress, to see
Sure.
is that something that can transition. And in that recent not guilty, my client did have a breath test that was almost double the legal limit, and I was able to get that suppressed, which then made the
Let's
case
talk
triable.
about that, because that was the key to the case.
Right.
And I think for a lot of lay people, they may not understand when you say motion to suppress. Talk about that. You don't need to go into the full nitty gritty, but explain maybe just in layperson's terms how you were able to keep out that breath test.
So in general terms, motion to suppress usually involves the Fourth Amendment, right? So unreasonable search or seizure. In this case, a breath test is a search.
It is.
And so it needs to be voluntary. And in that case, basically, my argument was that based on some misstatements where the officer misstated the law incorrectly, my
Sure.
client relied on that, which made his consent, it was not voluntary. The judge wrote a really great opinion and order and suppressed it, and then so that's out. And now we have very, very limited evidence as far as impairment. We put that before a jury and was able to get a not guilty.
We have a question from Facebook Live, and I want to remind all our viewers that if you have any type of question for Ian, for myself, we've got another guest coming up. I'm going to promo real quick. Our wonderful, incredible office manager, Nikki Haddaway, who not only is terrific at what she does, she is a terrific storyteller, extraordinarily funny. So she's going to be up at the halfway point. Anyhow, we have a question already from Facebook Live. Does Ian practice law in the Gainesville or Ocala office?
I live in Ocala, so I enjoy being in the Ocala office for obvious reasons. Not that I don't love driving up to Gainesville, but
Sure.
I bounce back and forth between both offices depending on the day. Honestly, I probably have cases currently in 5 to 6 counties, Putnam, Bradford, Levy County. So I will do DUI defense or any real criminal case. If it touches Alachua or Marion, I will take the case.
One thing I want to remind our viewers and listeners, many of you are watching us now live on Facebook Live. You may be watching us later on our YouTube page, or you may be listening to us on one of 39 different audio platforms on which this is broadcast. Meldon Law is a statewide firm, and what Ian's talking about really illustrates a critical point, that our attorneys and staff work collaboratively. So whether it's a DUI in Broward County, whether it's in Alachua County, Marion, Levy, any county, you work collaboratively with all the other attorneys and staff. Tanner Demery, of course, who we have working the Fort Lauderdale office, like you, is a former prosecutor. Heck, Carrie Meldon was a former prosecutor. So really all three of you bring that to the table. And Tanner also is unique in the sense that he was a PD. He was an assistant public defender before going into private practice, but you would agree that it's a collaborative effort, right?
I speak to Tanner probably, I would say at least once a week, with questions, whether it's him asking me or me asking him. Kerry, he has a lot of knowledge in a lot of cases,
Sure
even
does.
felony cases. So, he's a good source, and Jeffrey's been doing it since the 70s. So,
He is.
He's a great source, and even Richard, he did a little bit of criminal practice down in
Right,
South
Richard
Florida.
Perlini, who you're talking about, one of our newer attorneys that we've hired, primarily, like you said, for personal injury, but Richard also has extraordinary experience. Heck, I even did some back in the day.
Right, and I definitely have asked you some questions.
So
It's I may be the person that goes to court, I may try the case, but if you hire Meldon Law to represent you, there's a good chance that multiple lawyers have answered a question, looked at the file, multiple assistants have looked at it and done some things on it. So it's a big help to have all that support.
we're going to be taking a break in about 2 minutes. It's amazing. I haven't been on this show in about 5 weeks, so I forgot how quickly it flies.
It moves.
It does. It does. We want to remind everybody to take a look at our website, www.meldonlaw.com. It talks a lot about the different practice areas, which really boil down to two primary things. We handle personal injury cases, meaning that we represent victims and families of the people who have been injured due to the negligence, carelessness, or recklessness of another. Sometimes those are auto cases, motor vehicle crashes, big truck crashes. We've handled skateboard cases.
Slip and falls.
Slip and fall, we sure do.
Dog bite.
Dog bite, yep. And Ian, you've been getting into the civil arena quite a bit now, and are you finding that the work you've done in criminal has helped you transition to the civil cases?
Yeah, I have. It's. I would say that in talking to Jeffrey, being a prosecutor is going to, as far as the civil, help me there because, as a personal injury attorney, we're building the case, much like the prosecutor.
Exactly.
So we're collecting the evidence. We're getting investigators. We're getting the medical records. We're putting the pieces together to then go to the defense side and say, hey, this is why our client deserves this result.
Again, we want to remind you that you can also call us anytime, toll-free, 24/7 at 1-800-373-8000. Again, that toll-free number, you will talk to an attorney, whether it's about a criminal defense matter, it may be a personal injury matter. Heck, you can call us about anything. Jeffrey Meldon has been practicing law literally for 50 years. He got his 50-year medallion from the Florida Bar just a few weeks ago, so whether it's something that's within our wheelhouse or maybe something not quite within the work that we do, we'll be sure to steer you in the right direction to somebody who can help you. We need to take a break. We'll be right back with episode 46 of Meldon Law and Friends.
When you're a member of the Gator Nation, you know what it means to never back down. Meldon Law has been a proud supporter of the Gator Nation since 1971. Two forces that won't back down. As the old saying goes, if you can't beat 'em, join 'em. We still hear it. The sound of victory. The joy of being part of something great. And while things may not be the same right now, we haven't gone anywhere. If you bleed orange and blue, then Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Hello and welcome back to today's edition of Meldon Law and Friends. Today is Tuesday, September 7th, 2021. Jeffrey and Carrie Meldon are not here. They are celebrating and acknowledging Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year. And I may not say this exactly right, but my understanding, the Hebrew way of saying Happy New Year is Shana Tova. So hopefully I said that right, Shana Tova. To all of those out there celebrating Rosh Hashanah, we wish you the very best of Jewish New Year's. Jeffrey and Carrie will be back next week. Again, my name is Chris Qualman. I am very honored to be again hosting this show today, and I'm here with my friend and colleague Ian Pickens, outstanding criminal defense attorney to say the least. Very humble at what you do, but you're also extraordinarily successful. DUI is an interesting crime for many reasons. It's an opinion crime, really, at the end of the day. I've heard some people say because an officer making an arrest is giving an opinion on what he or she believes somebody to be. It's my opinion that this person is impaired, therefore I am arresting him or her for the crime of driving while drinking under the influence. Let's talk about picking a jury, because that has to be difficult. There are so many people, I'm sure, who come to the jury pool with preconceived notions and beliefs and prejudices. So walk me through how you do that.
So, we want to find basically the best juror for our case. And so with a DUI, I would like to have people that, do drink alcohol. I would like to have people who, understand that having a drink and driving is not illegal. It's illegal
That's
to
right.
be impaired. And so I don't want them to, because most times there's some evidence that my client was drinking. And so I don't want them to get the issues confused as far as what the state has to prove, what they don't have to prove. Sometimes there's just the general belief that, you did something if you're sitting at the table, or, so finding someone who can, believe my client is innocent, understand that the state has the burden of proof. So a lot of effort and time goes into jury selection, because I can argue and put the best argument forward in closing, but if I don't have the right 6 people, then it's all for naught.
Well, I'm sure you've had situations, it's called voir dire, which I understand means to speak the truth in Latin, and you go through the jury pool, you're asking them questions. I imagine you've had times where people say, you know what, just because this is a crime involving drinking and driving, I just can't be fair and unbiased.
Absolutely. The last jury that we picked, that we got the not guilty, 2 people had lost loved ones to drunk driving incidences. There were quite a few people that had bad experiences with alcohol, their parents, and so, I didn't want those people on my jury, but it's also about not asking further questions that then taints the jury pool.
Exactly.
And so you have to get enough to get the answer, but then you don't want to ask too much.
Don't ask too much.
And then the other 18 people are now with them.
I think the critical point, though, the takeaway from what you're saying is what I'm hearing is drinking and driving is not illegal. And certainly we're not advocating as a firm. We're not saying go out there and drink and drive. And one thing we talk about at length, Jeffrey has done public service announcements about this. If you are drinking and driving and you've had a few too many, stop. Don't drive. So, call Uber, do something. Do not get behind the wheel.
Right. In our book that we wrote, the ways to avoid getting a DUI, number 1 in each book for the different counties is, have a designated driver. Call Uber, call, Lyft, something. It's not worth it. Even if you get a not guilty, going through the process is not worth it. And so, having a drink and driving is not illegal, but, we would obviously recommend just call it Uber.
And again, as we were talking about at the beginning, it cuts across all socioeconomic boundaries, DUI, rich, poor, everything in between. If you do have the misfortune of getting arrested and pulled over for DUI, or maybe you have a friend or a loved one who has, do not attempt this on your own. You're fighting a war, like you talked about, on 2 fronts. You're fighting the driver's license suspension as well as the criminal charge. Call an attorney, call us.
Right.
Call Ian Pickens at 1-800-373-8000, and trust me, he will steer you in the straight direction. I want to switch gears to a topic of yours that I know you're very passionate about, because look where we are. We're at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill.
This place is amazing.
This is all about football, and I know you are a huge football fan. In particular, a Jacksonville Jaguars fan.
Whew. Yeah. Yes.
So how are the Jags going to do? They did well in that last preseason game.
Although I will say that I was bummed about the Minshew trade, just because.
So was I. I like Gardner.
I like him as a number 2. I get it. Lawrence, he has everything going for him. But Minshew, he had magic.
He had that Joe Namath kind of swagger, and I really liked him.
He was a player. The kid was a gamer, and I liked him. So Besides that, I think the Jags are going to have a much better year. I mean, I'm not saying we're going to win the Super Bowl, but I think, 5 to 7 wins is a reality, and start a building block with Urban there that, maybe next year we're a team that they're like, hey, playoffs.
Well, it was interesting, to say the least, the offseason for the Jaguars, and the fact that, let's start with the hiring of Urban Meyer. Something obviously is of interest to people in our viewing area in Gainesville and statewide. I think Urban's had a couple of missteps. He's a college coach transitioning to football. It's a little bit clumsy. With that said, though, you can't deny that the guy has won everywhere he's been, from Bowling Green to Utah to Florida to Ohio State. I mean, look at the record of success. This guy has never failed. How do you think he's going to do?
I think I think the NFL is completely different in college. I mean,
Yeah, that's
Saban
true.
found that out, right? So,
Yeah.
But I think he will transition better than some other college coaches did, and I think he's going to have some success in Jacksonville. And like you said, I mean, he does win, and so I think once we get some more pieces to the puzzle together, I think we have our quarterback. I like our running back Robinson. I would like maybe another wide receiver, but I think the pieces are falling into place, and I think he's going to be successful.
You know what? I think so too. I know the preseason games are just that. They're preseason, they're practice games. Still, when I saw Trevor come out for that last game against the Cowboys, he looked sharp as a tack.
Yeah.
I thought his passes were just right on the mark. He had the poise, the leadership, and maybe the fact that they did the trade with Minshew, maybe that cleared some fog in his head, maybe some uncertainty. The fact that he was named the starter, there was no longer any question about that. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, that definitely could be a reason. If the city loves Minshew magic, right?
Yeah.
And, with every misstep, is he worried about getting replaced by the guy who
Sure.
was starting the past couple of years? So getting rid of him, I see that as a hey, we're confident you're our guy kind of thing, which I figured he was going to be. But yeah, definitely from a just a standpoint of having confidence in your number one guy, I definitely see why that could have factored into it.
Well, I know you know the NFL as a whole, though. I know this only because we've played against each other in fantasy football, and you always seem to kick my butt.
I just did 2 drafts this
Yeah,
weekend.
so you always seem to pick the best players, so I think you know the NFL as a whole pretty well. What are your thoughts about, let's go for the gusto, who's going to be in the Super Bowl?
I don't want to say it, but I think Tampa Bay is going to be a real contender.
Sure.
I'm interested to see what the Patriots can do.
I am too. I think that'll be very interesting.
Dallas always seems to have all this hype, and then finished 7-9. So we'll see what's going on there. But if I had to place a bet, I would say Tampa would probably be my front runner, just because I don't see how you win a Super Bowl, bring everybody back, and you have Tom Brady.
Yeah, they got Tom Brady. He's the GOAT.
Yeah,
I still say he's the GOAT, 100%. After you saw what he did last year, and my son Benny is probably the most passionate Bucs fan that I know. So, Benny, if you're listening as you're driving home on the internet, we both agree. I think Tampa Bay is very, very strong. A couple of other things I want to hit before we go to a break in a couple of minutes. We are doing volleyball ticket giveaways for the upcoming games against Baylor this weekend. Florida, the football team is on the road. They're playing at Raymond James Stadium. Speaking of the Bucs, they're playing against USF, University of South Florida. That should be a win for the Gators. USF didn't look particularly strong this past week against North Carolina State.
Yeah, so I believe we'll win. The main thing is I would love to have a situation where a lot of the starters aren't in there in the fourth quarter,
Right.
So that way we can be healthy. We don't want to look past it and play ugly going into Alabama. Let's get a solid 3 quarters in, can cruise to a win, and then stay healthy for Alabama, right? Because they look good.
Yeah, Alabama looks like Alabama. They look like a pro team. I mean, every year in and year out, they have the top recruiting class in the country. They just reload and reload and reload.
It's unreal.
It is unreal. Still, they're beatable.
They are.
They put on their pants one leg at a time, as the old saying goes. So I think the Gators, if they play their absolute best, I'm going to just throw out there, I'm very intrigued by Anthony Richardson at quarterback. I'm not giving up on Emory Jones. Emory's had, 4 years already in the system. Emory's got a lot of talent, but boy, Anthony Richardson sure looked good out there.
Honestly, he looked like a faster Tebow. I mean,
Yeah.
when he did the stiff arm, that
And he
one
put his head
kid.
down, he didn't slide,
I mean, he's your prototypical Mullen type quarterback, the big like Dak, big like Tebow, but I think he's faster than him.
Yeah.
And so I think, he's got some development as far as maybe the passing game.
Right.
But, man, the future looks bright with him.
I think so too. So Florida will be up there in the conversation, come bowl season. Still, that's going to be a big test. So back to the volleyball ticket giveaways. We want to remind everybody that we are giving away, as we did in the spring, we're doing it again this fall. We're giving away free tickets to many different Gator sports. Florida plays Baylor this weekend, Saturday. I think you looked it up. We have a doubleheader on we play Friday and then a doubleheader on Saturday. Is that right?
Friday, Saturday, I think one's at 7, one's at 8, but it's both Baylor, which they're number 17, so it should be a good game. Florida
Sure.
Obviously plays really great volleyball, a great tradition there, so it should be a really good game.
It's a great experience, and what we want you to do, if you're interested in the volleyball tickets, is to go to the Meldon Law website. Up at the very top, you'll see a button for apply for the tickets, or you can take a look at the Meldon Law Facebook page. Either way, you'll see opportunities to apply for the free tickets, and stay in touch throughout the fall. We'll have tickets for upcoming football games. I don't know about the Alabama game. That's a tough ticket.
That's a tough one.
That's a tough ticket. Still, though, for other fall events and certainly for baseball in the spring and everything else, we'll have tickets for that. We want to remind everybody also that one thing we've been talking about. You and I both attended the Dale Carnegie training.
Yes.
And there's another Dale Carnegie seminar coming up starting 2 weeks from today. Our good friend Bob Ganzak is once again the host, the facilitator, the leader, the teacher, and instructor, if you will. Bob has many, many years of experience. I went through the program just like Ian, both as a student and then as a graduate assistant instructor. It starts exactly 2 weeks from today, the 21st of September, at the Hotel Indigo. I can't say enough wonderful things about it, and I know you had a great experience also.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the course. It's helped me in my working relationship, not only with clients, but with my assistants. And honestly, it's helped me, not get, being an attorney can be stressful.
Oh
and
gosh,
so
you got that right.
It's helped me. My wife's an attorney, so there's a lot of stress in my house. And I think going through that has definitely helped me prioritize and handle that part of my life.
Well, Bob has been a consultant also for our law firm. He's become a great personal friend of mine. He, Freddie Wiebe, Doreen Wiebe, many others are involved in the marketing and putting on this Dale Carnegie training. It's an 8-week course. It's for 3 hours, I think 3.5 hours, 6 to 9:30 p.m. every Tuesday night starting the 21st. If you would like more information, you can call Bob directly. He gave us permission to give out his cell number. It's 229-506-1387. Again, for more information about the Dale Carnegie 8-week leadership training course, 229-506-1387. Again, you are watching Meldon Law and Friends, a service of Meldon Law, a statewide law firm with its primary office in Gainesville, also with offices in South Florida and Central Florida, and actually Marion County, to be more specific. We will be right back. Ian's going to stick around for the next 2 segments with our new office manager. Well, I say new. She's been with us for a couple of months now, but she's got a lot of things to talk about, and if she doesn't, well, we're going to ask her a lot of questions. Nikki's a lot of fun, and she'll be on in just a couple of moments. So thanks for watching. We'll be right back. Stick around. Don't go away.
When you're a member of the Gator Nation, you know what it means to never back down. Meldon Law has been a proud supporter of the Gator Nation since 1971. Two forces that won't back down. As the old saying goes, if you can't beat 'em, join 'em.
Well, I was in a truck accident. Because of the accident, I've resulted in 3 back surgeries. We saw advertisements on TV, and guess who popped up more often than not? It was Jeffrey. The communication that he provided was so appreciative. He shows his compassion as a human. He assisted us in achieving one of our dreams, the acquisition of a home, and we're here today with smiles on our face with the assistance from Jeffrey.
The Meldon Law Firm from the beginning has been built on giving back to the community. I enjoy coming to work as much today as I did in 1971 when I opened my practice. I don't look at this as a job. I look at it as serving other people. While we're alive, what better feeling can you achieve than knowing that you've helped other people and thereby you enrich your own life? The Gator Nation will be the first to tell you that in all kinds of weather, we all stick together, which is why Meldon Law is honored to be the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. We hope you never find yourself the victim of a serious accident, but if you do, our team is here for you. Gators won't back down from a fight, and neither do we.
Oh my gosh, I can't even believe this. Look what you have done to my truck.
Excuse me, it's your fault, it's not my fault.
Yes, it is your
No,
fault.
it's not. No,
I am
it's not.
calling Jeffrey Meldon from Meldon Law.
So I'm gonna call Jeffrey, my husband.
Meldon Law, this is Jeffrey speaking.
This crazy lady here, this crazy lady, he might...
New client?
Yes, but this one might be a little tricky. We still hear it. The sound of victory. The joy of being part of something great. And while things may not be the same right now, we haven't gone anywhere. If you bleed orange and blue, then Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Hello and welcome back to today's edition of Meldon Law and Friends. This is episode 46. Hard to believe we've got that many episodes in the can. My name is Chris Qualman. I am one of the rotating hosts of this program, along with Jeffrey Meldon and Carrie Meldon. Jeffrey and Carrie are not here today. They're recognizing the Jewish New Year, Rosh Hashanah, so we want to certainly wish them a Happy New Year. And they will be back at next week's program. Want to remind you that we have a website at www.meldonlaw.com that talks about our practice areas, which primarily focus on personal injury cases, meaning that we represent victims of truck crashes, motor vehicle collisions, pedestrians, like Ian was talking about, skateboards, bicycles, anything that involves the claim relating to the negligence of another, trip and fall, slip and fall, animal bite, we could go on and on. Anyway, if you have a situation like that involving you personally or a loved one or a friend or a family member, please give us a call anytime, statewide, toll-free at 1-800-373-8000. We also handle criminal defense cases, this guy primarily, handling DUI defense and many other things in state and federal courts. So whatever the case may be, give us a call. You will speak with an attorney, and we'll do our best to get you steered in the right direction. Nikki Haddaway is our office manager. How long have you been with us, Nikki?
I started in June, so I'm going on 3 months with Meldon Law now.
It's really incredible because you have made such a positive impact on our firm. And I know I speak for all the employees in saying how happy, how thrilled we are about you, not just being here with us, but the things you have done and the things you are doing. So let me
Thank you.
publicly say thank you.
Thank you very much. I have very much enjoyed my stay. It seems like I've been there forever. It's only been 3 months. It seems like it's been forever. It's a family atmosphere, and I am really enjoying it.
Well, it's interesting because I may be wrong about this, but to the best of my knowledge, you are the first full-time office manager. We've had people wear multiple roles. We've had, Stephanie was wonderful in that role, but she was also a case manager.
Right.
We had Abby, Miss Abby as you call her,
yes.
so respectfully. Miss Abby was the office manager and also was a criminal defense paralegal. But you're doing this full-time. This is your sole only gig. So how's it going? Tell us about the challenges you've had and how it's going for you.
Well, I have had some big shoes to fill behind Miss Abby and Stephanie, but I could see Jeffrey's vision. Jeffrey and I spoke about his vision for the firm and for the future, and I could see his vision, And he and I work well together because he has these great ideas, and then I'm the one that takes them and does something with them. So
And implements them.
yes, I'm the executioner in the office, right?
More
I
ways than
execute.
one.
So I have a huge task in front of me. I have a lot to do. Meldon Law has grown a lot over the last year and
incredibly.
a half. I think we've tripled in size at this point.
When I started, heck, when you and I started about within a year of each other, we had just, 2 or 3 attorneys. It was Jeffrey, Carrie, we had Dan, we had a couple other guys, but we were never more than 4. But now we're up to 6, maybe up to 7 or 8 soon. But our staff, in terms of paralegals and case managers, you're right, it's bigger than it's ever been.
I mean, just in criminal, it was just myself and Miss Abby, and now I have 2 full-time assistants, and Miss Abby, you have Sierra, we have the marketing department. I swear they have a new person every day. So, we've definitely grown.
Are we allowed to say anything about a potential new office?
We can.
Allegedly.
I will allegedly.
Allegedly heard.
I will announce that Meldon Law will be opening an office in Lake City to service the Columbia County area. That will be soon. I don't have an official date for you guys yet, but the ink is still wet on the paper. However, it is a done deal, so we will have an office in Lake City very soon.
Well, and really that makes us truly a statewide firm. I
Yes.
mean, because we've got now the northern part of the state, the central part, the southern part, and we are currently handling cases all across the state of Florida, but
That's right.
I think that will just enable us to even better serve our clients.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's fun to watch the firm grow, and I'm so excited with the people, everyone that has been existing with Meldon Law. We have some long-term employees, but we also have a lot of new people, along
do.
with myself. So it's fun to watch the firm grow, and I'm glad I'm coming in the middle of that, so I get to see that growth and hopefully keep it on the right track. That's what I'm there for. So I'm very excited.
Well, you are such a positive person. You truly are. And I know you've talked a lot about team building, about, improving rapport and improving just the camaraderie. So talk a little bit about your philosophy on that and how you're implementing that.
Okay. I am going with, I believe in constantly learning. We can never stop learning, and we can never stop going back and revisiting the things that we've already learned. So I have started a monthly theme for the office where we're focusing on one thing. So that way we get a full month of focus on one topic. In June, we did client service, and that was focusing on how we can really better serve our clients. That's very important. In August, we talked about team building. And then in the month of September, we're talking about our core, which is our intake department, and how we can all come together as a team, make sure that we are working to our fullest potential for our clients, and also see Jeffrey's vision happen.
Let's talk a little bit about the core, as you're talking about, because I think this is an important message for our viewers and listeners.
Yes.
What is the message you want them to hear when they contact Meldon Law?
So I want our potential new clients, anyone who calls our office, I want them to feel like they've done the right thing. They've called Meldon Law, they've made the right choice. I want them to feel like we're there for them, that they matter most, just as Meldon says, you matter most, because that is true, and that is a philosophy that we live by in the office. And I want them to feel that way, that we are there for them, we know what we're doing, we can help them get the results that they're looking for, and also that we do care about them. So hopefully, our intake department is when someone calls in, a potential new client calls in, and that's the very first person that they speak with that will get the information why they're calling, what their situation may be, and assign them to a case manager. So they are our very first point of contact for any potential new clients. So that's what I call our core.
Sure.
It's just like a pack of abs, 6-pack abs. It is your core. It is what makes you solid. And without that strong core, what are you? So
Well,
we're working on our core.
Let's talk a little bit about this whole physical aspect, because I'm going to share the secret that you shared with us
Okay.
after you were hired. After you remember that day when all of a sudden we're having a staff Zoom meeting, and Nikki, you're not particularly big.
No.
You're a small person, but carry a big wallop, to say the least. You told us what?
I am a black belt in Taekwondo. I also used to teach classes, and I am a referee. I'm a certified Taekwondo referee.
That's probably as hard, if not harder, than the matches themselves.
Yes. So basically, my philosophy is nothing is harder than that. Nothing can beat me down more than I've already been beaten down in my life.
Okay.
Physically,
So,
actually.
right. So there is no challenge that is too large for me.
I'm not taking her on. I don't know
No,
about you.
no.
I mean,
I'll be honest with you. She sends an email. I normally do what it says. Right?
that's right. That's right.
I'm using FileVine. I'm not using paper anymore. I'm trying to
See,
do
in
the
pro
right
wrestling,
thing.
they have a sleeper hold that's fake, but
Right.
she really knows how to do a sleeper hold, I'm
Exactly.
sure.
Right. I'm glad I'm in Suite B half the time.
Yes.
I just,
Well, I must be doing something right then. However, I also believe in kindness and respect.
Yes, you do.
That is something that we were taught in Taekwondo. So running an office is a lot like teaching a Taekwondo class.
Okay.
It is very similar. I am managing people. I'm trying to keep people motivated. I'm trying to teach them respect. And it's very similar. So my job as office manager at Meldon Law has actually come very easy for me because, again, there's nothing tougher than Taekwondo. So it's kind of simple for me at this point.
Kind of simple. Well, you make it look simple, but
Thank you.
I know how incredibly hard you're working.
Thank you.
Talk about you've talked about the excellent client experience. You
Yes.
want people to call. I think you said it. You hit the nail right on the head where you said you want people to feel the moment they make that call that they've made the right decision.
Absolutely.
And it's also a challenge to keep staff happy,
Yes.
to keep staff motivated, to keep their morale up. It's been a tough year, to say the least. I mean, with COVID going on and just economic difficulties, housing difficulties, our staff, our employees are no different than anybody else. We've had, COVID in our office. So talk about how you've met those challenges and things you're doing going forward.
COVID obviously has affected our office as well, and there was one point right before I started that most of the employees were remote. The office was pretty much shut down. There was only maybe 1 or 2 people there, and there was a lot of Zoom meetings happening, which I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with at this point, doing the Zoom meetings. And when we came back, people started slowly trickling back into the office. We kept the Zoom meetings, but I wanted to make them fun. And part of that was letting the firm get to know me as a person.
Sure.
I didn't want to come in and say, "Hi, I'm your new boss," but you're not going to ever know anything about me. I believe in openness, and as I told everyone from the day one, I have an open door policy. My door's open to anyone at any time, as long as I'm not in a meeting. And so I brought in to our Zoom meetings, we do a share where I start off and I share something personal about myself, something that somebody might not know, and that was when you guys learned about my Taekwondo, and
we did.
and lots of other things you know about me by now.
Uh-huh.
And then I usually pick a random employee and ask them to share something with us. So I get to know the employees and they get to know me, and it's made things fun. I think that you guys have gotten to know me a lot through that.
We have.
Okay, and I've also implemented some other things. I believe in teamwork. Obviously, we all need to work together as a team, just like any other team, a football team, any other office. If you don't have a team that is working together, it's going to fall apart. Just like that core. You've got to have that solid core. You've also got to have a solid team. And I believe in that. Same thing with Taekwondo. You've got to have a solid team. So I am constantly trying to teach things while making them fun. So I am learning things behind the scenes and then bringing it back to the firm and teaching all of our employees and trying to bring some fun into it. And another thing that we're doing is we did an inter-office bonus program that's based on points that other employees can, it's not just management, any employee can go in and recognize their fellow coworkers, and it's kind of like a social media page for the office. Anytime someone is recognized, it shows up in a feed, and it's really nice. Everybody's participated, and I just got a report last week that we had 100% participation across the board in that program. So it's been wonderful. You can take those points and buy yourself little gifts afterwards.
Wow, that's I've already seen it. It's quite a wonderful thing. Ian, I know that in your neck of the woods, I know you're transitioning over to civil, but talk about criminal clients. they're not criminals, people charged with crimes, I should say, they're scared. You know, when they call the office, they're looking for hope. And I know what Nikki's talking about in terms of that initial intake, that is so critical in terms of a criminal defense client calling and being made to feel like they truly have a chance.
Right. What we want to do is say that, you know, there's hope. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. You know, it's scary. Things have happened. Or sometimes we'll get a mother, you know, her son who goes to UF has been arrested.
Right.
And it's about handling that issue with empathy, with compassion, and letting them know, hey, we're going to take care of your son.
Exactly. That's such a critical thing. We will be back in just a couple of moments talking further to Nikki Haddaway, the office manager for Meldon Law, and also to Ian Pickens, the criminal defense and civil attorney for Meldon Law. I want to remind you again to take a look at our website, www.meldonlaw.com, for further details on our practice areas, and to call us anytime, 1-800-373-8000. We want you to call, not just to talk to us, but to let us know if we're doing what Nikki is telling us about, and that is talking about the excellent client experience and giving you hope, making you feel better. I know that's something I try to do, all of us try to do, and under Nikki's direction and leadership, I think we're making a lot of progress in that regard. We'll be right back in just a few moments. You are watching Meldon Law and Friends. Stick around for our fourth and final segment.
We still hear it. The sound of victory. The joy of being part of something great. And while things may not be the same right now, we haven't gone anywhere. If you bleed orange and blue, then Meldon Law is the firm for you. When you're a member of the Gator Nation, you know what it means to never back down. Meldon Law has been a proud supporter of the Gator Nation since 1971. Two forces that won't back down. As the old saying goes, if you can't beat 'em, join 'em.
Hello and welcome back to Meldon Law and Friends. Tuesday, September 7th, 2021. My name is Chris Qualman, joined by Ian Pickens and Nikki Haddaway, the office manager for Meldon Law. Tell you what, I've had a lot of fun today. I haven't been here in about a month, and time sure flies when you're doing this show.
Quick hour.
It is a very, very quick hour. So we've only got about 13, 14 minutes left. I want to hit a couple more topics with Nikki. So we had a Zoom meeting today at the office. Like you said, we've been doing lots of Zoom meetings. We've kind of cut those back, but we have one Zoom meeting a week. And you talked about something very interesting, that you have a box outside your door. It's not a complaint box, it's a solutions box. And I'd like you to share that with everybody, because that was very critical and inspirational. I thought you made a great point. So talk about that.
Okay. So another philosophy I have is no BMW.
You mean I can't buy a BMW?
I don't mind if
Not that I can
buy a
afford one.
Mercedes, that's it.
if you want to buy a BMW, that's fine. However, that's not the BMW I'm talking about. I'm sure if any of our coworkers are watching the podcast, they know exactly what I'm talking about. They're probably laughing right now. BMW is bitching, moaning, and whining. There is a no BMW policy.
Yeah, I know. I whine a lot.
So my thing is don't come at me with BMW. That's fine if you have a problem. Come at me with solutions. I like solutions. If you want to come at me with a problem, make sure you have a solution to back it up. But I also wanted to give an outlet to employees who may felt like they don't have a voice or are afraid to voice their opinion on something. And again, I made it clear to them that my little box outside my office, it's locked. There's little slips you can fill out. You don't have to put your name. It's completely anonymous. That was my point. And I wanted to give everyone an opportunity to be able to provide feedback as far as solutions to me as the office manager without feeling like, you know, maybe they were going to get shot down, or their idea was I wasn't going to like it, or management wasn't going to like it. I just wanted to give them a voice. And I believe in everyone having a voice in the office. And so that was, my box has a little sign on the front that says problems, but problems is crossed out, and underneath of it, it says solutions. So that was one of my speeches today in our Zoom, was to bring me solutions. I will work with solutions. If I open my little box and I pull out a piece of paper and it's a problem with no solution, I'm going to crumple it up and throw it away. That's my philosophy.
You talked about something else, actually. I'm going to flip back to a law topic. It is something that Jeffrey has been preaching from the mountaintop, literally, I think, throughout his entire 50 years of law practice. But you brought it up today during our Zoom meeting, and that is the critical importance of having uninsured, or sometimes it's called underinsured, motorist coverage. Now, if you're a longtime listener of the radio show, you're thinking, oh, they're going to talk about that again. Well, guess what? You're right. We're going to talk about it again because it's so important. And without going into the nitty-gritty or details, I'll just simply say this. We had a heartbreaking case come into our office recently, and I'll just simply say it was a student who was horrifically injured. Fortunately, the student survived a terrible crash. Unfortunately, it was a situation, and I'm sure other firms who do this kind of work, they experience the same thing all too often, where the at-fault driver either had no insurance or did not have bodily injury BI coverage. And then when you get a situation like that, you say, okay, well, hopefully the victim had uninsured motorist coverage. In this case, no. Now, I will say, fortunately, the student did have health insurance coverage, so she is able to get at least her bills paid for. But in terms of pain and suffering and future care and treatment, she's got, really out of luck on that. So I want you to talk a little bit about what you said this morning.
Sure. And, just like you said, I'm sure you guys are tired of hearing about it. Imagine the employees in our office. This is what we do, but we still talk about this in our office. So I brought it up to everyone in our Zoom this morning to take a moment and check your insurance coverage. Unless you 100% know what your insurance coverage is, take a moment and look over your policy. Make sure that not only are you sufficiently covered, but you also do have that uninsured motorist coverage. The amount as far as what it's going to cost you in difference to have the uninsured motorist coverage is minimal, very minimal, and it can make a huge difference in your life if you are ever involved in any type of accident with an uninsured driver. So take a moment and look at your coverage. The other part of that is, and Chris was probably about to say this, but I'm gonna carry on with that, Chris.
Go for it.
The other part of that is to make sure that you work with an insurance agent.
Exactly.
It can make such a difference for you because when you sit down with an actual agent, they are working one-on-one with you to help tailor your insurance needs. Whereas when you're behind a computer screen, they're asking you basic questions. It's not personalized. You don't know that you're getting coverage to sufficiently cover your assets should you cause an accident, or if you need that uninsured motorist coverage. A lot of those online programs will bury that and just say, oh, you don't need it because they're trying to make that premium as low as possible.
Exactly. And Ian, you and I talked about this recently because actually the law in the state of Florida is the insurance agent is supposed to offer you. In fact, it's part of the smorgasbord of products you're supposed to have is uninsured motorist coverage. And the only way not to have it is if you knowingly decline it.
Correct.
Okay. So often what happens on these online sales, they say, you want to save money, right? You want the cheapest policy, right? So you don't want uninsured, right? Okay, fine. Check. You don't want it. Sometimes, though, we get cases in the office where there has supposedly been a declining of uninsured motorist coverage. One of our case managers, Carolyn, is a bulldog on this. We sometimes find that the insurance company can't find the sheet that says it was declined. So the point I'm making is that if you're in a situation where you're in an accident, you think you have declined the uninsured motorist coverage, contact us anyway, because it turns out sometimes that the insurance companies can't find that declination. It was like the point Nikki just made. So often people don't know what their coverage is. They don't know if they declined it. They don't know if they have UM. They don't even know what their bodily injury policy limits are if they are at fault. Sit down with an agent. We have so many great agents, neighborhood agents in Gainesville, in Ocala, in South Florida, in Lake City, where we're about to open a new office. do yourself a favor. It doesn't cost you any more. Sit down face to face with your local agent.
Right. I mean, insurance, at the end of the day, you hope you never need it, but it's worth taking the time to make sure you're protecting yourself, your family, like life insurance, homeowners insurance. You insure all these things. You need to make sure you're properly covered when you're on the road, because it's not you, it's the other people, with not having coverage, just like the ones out there causing the accidents.
That's right.
Protect yourself. It's worth the time.
So, Nikki, again, you've only been with the firm now 3 months. Still, you've done so much in that 90-day period. I know I
you.
speak for everybody saying you have just made such an incredibly positive impact, not just on the staff, but I think it's bled over to the clients themselves in terms of their results.
I hope so.
What are some things you want to see implemented for the future?
Well, I am all about structure. And I think that was one of the reasons why I am in my position, is I am very structured. And so I am working towards some structure in the firm, something that we've needed. Just some things that, it's a great place to work. It has such a great atmosphere. Jeffrey is such a wonderful boss to work for. But we do need that structure so that as we grow, we can continue to grow in the positive direction, in the right direction, because we don't want to put all this effort into growing and then there not be any structure within.
Well, and like you talked about, the fact that this has been a year of such growth. One of the biggest things, of course, that the firm did was enter into this relationship with the University of Florida Athletic Association, where we have been and are and remain the official law firm community partner, the only official law firm community partner of the Florida Gators. If you were at the football game this past Saturday, you saw our name up on the scoreboard. In fact, we were even on the inside flap of the rosters that were given out. You open it up, and the first thing you see on page 2 was Jeffrey and Carrie Meldon. So our name certainly has gotten out there quite a bit over the last several months. But like you said, with this influx of more phone calls and more exposure comes a need for a greater emphasis on that excellent client experience.
Right. We want to make sure that while we grow, we continue to give that excellent client service. And we want to make sure that even though we are growing and we expanding and getting all these new offices, we still want to give each and every client that personalized experience that they deserve.
Okay. So we've only got a couple of minutes left, and you've shared with us, like you shared with the firm, the fact that you're a Taekwondo expert, both as a competitor and as a referee. Anything else you'd like to talk about your background in terms of you live in the area, you and your husband, and
Yes.
tell a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I have deep roots in Gainesville. I am originally from North Georgia. However, my stepfather was born and raised in Gainesville, graduated from Gainesville High School, joined the military as soon as he graduated from Gainesville High, and I spent my life moving around with that military lifestyle. Every couple of years, we lived different places. I got to see a lot of really cool places, and I'm forever grateful for my stepfather for that. He basically made me who I am today. So when he retired from the Coast Guard, my family owned an insurance agency here in Gainesville, and we moved back to Gainesville. First time I've ever lived in Gainesville. We had visited throughout my life, so I was familiar, and I've been here since. I moved here in January of 1997. I've raised family here, and my husband and I live here. We love it. We love the Gators. We love the atmosphere in Gainesville. It's a wonderful place to be.
Don't mess with her. Behind that wonderful, beautiful smile is a tough lady who can get you in a sleeper hold and do all sorts of things. Nah, she's been terrific. We're so grateful to have you as part of our team. So, Ian, who's going to win that first game with the Jaguars? Who's their opponent, and how are they going to do?
Whew, I got to look at the schedule, but obviously the Jags, we're going to start 1-0, and
there you go.
I got a good feeling about it.
I think the Gators will be 2-0. It's safe to say. Yes. That Alabama game. Do you think we got a shot?
I do. I think our offense. I think it's got to be a little bit like the SEC championship, where we got to go tit for tat because you're not going to stop them.
Right.
We're going to have to score 40 and make a big play on defense.
I tell you what, that SEC title game last year was amazing. I truly thought we did have a chance there at the end.
We did.
I thought Kyle Trask and Pitts played an outstanding game, and
It was the best game of the year. It was better than the Natty.
We played Alabama better than anybody else did that whole year. So I want to see the same thing coming up in 2 weeks. And Meldon Law will be there. We are in parking space 310. If you're at the game in 2 weeks, please come by and say hello to Jeffrey, Carey, and the gang. And I'll tell you what, it's going to be an exciting fall, Nikki.
It is. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to see where we go with Meldon Law.
Me either, and you've been a major part of that. Both of you have been, I should say, and that's why I wanted you both on the show. So,
And you as well, Chris.
Yes.
You
well,
as
thank
well.
you. Thank you very much.
You wear a lot of hats.
Yes.
I do.
it all well.
Anyhow, again, you've been watching Meldon Law and Friends, a service of Meldon Law. We are a statewide firm. We handle personal injury cases, auto crashes, truck crashes, slip and fall, trip and fall, animal bite, amusement park ride accidents, whatever it may be. We handle them across the state of Florida, criminal defense, DUI, felonies and misdemeanors in state and federal courts. Give us a call anytime, toll free, to speak to a legal professional at 1-800-373-8000. Again, on behalf of Nikki, Ian, and myself, we thank you for watching the program. Jeffrey and Carey should be back next week. We wish them a happy Jewish New Year. We wish all of you a very safe and healthy week. Go Gators. We'll see you next week.
Go Gators.
Go Gators.